Hello, welcome to the third video on this channel. I finally got around to making some upgrades to the recording setup and figured I'd show them off. First kind of major upgrade, as you can see, is I now have a webcam setup. Perhaps I should have waited till I reached 1,000,000 subs like Dream did to have a face reveal, but figure no time like the present to start right now. So right now I'm just I have a GoPro Hero 8. I have it set up with the GoPro Hero webcam software. It's a free it's still in beta, but it's free software. You can get it through, there's like a Facebook group. You just join it, download the software through there, and it works pretty well with the camera. I've had a little bit of trouble getting it to work initially, where sometimes it seems like the software doesn't want to start up and connect to the camera, but after a little bit of fiddling around and re-downloading it a couple times, it seems to work no problem and led to a nice camera with some pretty good quality. And as you can see here, I'm just in this basic narrow mode and good quality in that. And they can go all the way up to what they call a super view, which was a new upgrade from them. And as you can see, super view is a pretty super view. Give me a second to switch it back. So this has been my webcam for a couple of years now, as we hit the Zoom era where everyone needed to have their webcams for Zoom calls, and I didn't have a webcam for my computer, and thankfully I could just use the GoPro I figured out. And so I originally didn't have it mounted on the monitor like it is. Originally I just had it mounted like this. This webcam setup worked out well enough for Zoom calls and casual gaming because I'd have my mic set up on its original stand just off to the side right there. But to improve my sound quality, I moved it into the middle here so I could speak into it directly and reduce the gains level on it so it didn't pick up the sound of the highway just outside of my room here. Unfortunately, the basic mic stand that comes with the Series X is, well, it's pretty short, and so works small enough if you're just sticking it on your desk and leaving the volume levels pretty high. But because I needed to have those volume levels low to keep out the sound of the highway, I had to bump it up a little bit so I can speak into it more naturally and not have to scrunch way down to speak into the mic properly. And so to do that, I just stuck it on my little box of bolts I have right here, which works well enough for filming a video, but it is a bit of a heavy, awkward, bulky, silly looking solution. And so I figured, as a super serious professional YouTuber, I figured I had to upgrade the setup a little bit. And so perhaps I should have just gone with a regular mic arm that you could buy off of, say, Amazon or in stores somewhere, but I wasn't quite sure how that mic arm setup would work with this kind of U-shaped desk setup I have right here. I figured the arms would be either in the way of the 3D printer or in the way of the actual paper printer here. And so I figured I'd just make a little mic stand instead. I could stick that in the middle and have free range to everywhere around here, access to the keyboard and access to everything else around me. So here is the mic stand in SolidWorks. It consists of a little C-clamp on the bottom to clamp onto the desk, piece of PVC pipe, very, very official as a bit of the boom arm extension, I guess, and then a little cap on top that attaches to the actual shock mount, which the mic then stands on. For this C-clamp, I was pleasantly surprised at how easy it was to actually make the threads and this screw here. So I was worried I have to do it all by hand, but the basic auto-generated threads in SolidWorks worked well enough to just use those, and that made it way simpler to actually make that screw and thread. Originally, I had planned on making a nice flexible piece on the back here, and I was going to use that as the clamp to hold the pipe in place. And so it has a little divot on the side of it. I'll see if I can show that. So yeah, I have this little protrusion on the end of it. I would drill a series of holes in the pipe here And then to adjust the height of it, I would just pull this back out, and then it would lock into place at either heights. Unfortunately, with the way I printed it, there was a ton of support material around this flexible piece, and I got a little too rambunctious tearing that support material off and just tore this flexible piece right off as well. And so, not wanting to waste all the material I spent making this, as everything else worked on it just fine, it was just that piece that didn't work anymore, I just drilled 2 little holes into the side of it and threaded bolts into those, and they'll just press up against the pipe and hold it in place. Eventually, I think I will get slightly longer bolts for those holes and make a little cap for those bolts so I can adjust them by hand instead of requiring a screwdriver to loosen and tighten them. But until I make that change, or until I figure that that's actually something that's worth changing, I will leave it as it is. As far as a couple of little interesting things here, I have the Aprolod logo on the top there for a little bit of brand representation, as well as 2 little Flex Filla pads for the top and bottom of the C-clamp to hold it in place. And I guess in case you were interested in how that cap is connected on, and so I have a bolt that goes through this kind of cylinder section here, through here, and to a nut that sits in this slot. And then when you tighten that nut, it presses on this tab here, which will then sandwich the pipe in between it and help lock it in place, and seems to work pretty well as far as it goes so far. Now that I have a decent quality microphone set up, I definitely feel much more professional. If you're interested in either the Razer Series X, which is this microphone, or in the shock mount that it is attached to, please feel free to check out the Amazon affiliate links in the description to help support the channel. And so with that out of the way, now let's get back to the webcam. I created a little GoPro mount to secure it to the top of my monitor. This original mount just uses the GoPro pivot connection, as well as a skier clamp, the one that I broke during that initial longboard break video, to create a secure but adjustable connection. Also created 2 different models that allow for the basic GoPro mount to be attached on top. I'm sure you could stick whatever other action cam or webcam mount you wanted on there that glues into place. And I might create one that has like the GoPro clip connection on top, so you can just slide the GoPro mount onto there, but I'd rather not get sued for copyright infringement, so I'll only do that if people are actually interested in that, and after I do a little bit of research to see if I can get in trouble for that. But speaking of which, if you are interested in any of these mounts, you can get the 3D printer files by heading to my CG Trader page, which I'll have a link to in the description. Or if you lack a 3D printer, you can just send me an email and we can discuss sending one your way. And now with that shill out of the way, I just wanted to end this video with an announcement that I'll be streaming on YouTube this Tuesday, that is October 4th. I'll be aiming to stream at least twice a week, likely on Tuesdays and Thursdays for 5 to 6 hours starting at 9 a.m. PST. Not entirely sure what project I'll be working on Tuesday, but it'll either be a 6-axis robotic arm or on a gadget for my car. Either way, I hope to see you there. And before I head out, I'd just like to say that I'm always looking for more projects. So if any sort of problem that a custom gadget could fix, please send an email to aprolod@gmail.com. You can find that email in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Jay out.